talked last week about my annoyance at British racing being described as the best in the world. Another source of annoyance to me is every time I have the occasion where it's the same old story. Barney's had a right touch. Let me tell you, no one is more entitled to a touch than I am. I've no sponsors, no owners. I always put down my own money. I lose 80% of my investment in 24 hours. And I don't have any other form of income. Surely people don't expect me to be providing free entertainment for the bookmakers and the racecourses. That's why the only way to make the job pay is to back the horses when you think they are cooking. I've never made any secret of that. That brings me on to the betting. And one thing about betting is you always have to get the value. There is no sense in having one cooking and the whole of Newmarket knowing about it. So here's how we operate. There was a book written some years ago called The Druids Lodge Confederacy. And mind you, it's well worth a read. It's about a training establishment set up in Wiltshire or somewhere down there, and the sole purpose of the operation was to back the horses. And indeed, they had some right touches. No one was allowed out of the place. No one was allowed to watch the gallops and so on. In this day and age, I don't think you could run an operation like the above. But I work on the same principle. No one is to know about the horses, but in a more simplified form. I have two very simple rules. What happens in the yard stays in the yard. Break the rule, instant dismissal, no matter who you are. Let's say if you were working in Tesco on the meat counter, you are entitled to your weekly wage. You are not entitled after work to take out in a bag 4 fillet steaks, 2 pounds of sausages, 4 lamb chops to feed the family. If you get caught, it's instant dismissal. I work on the same principle. You get paid your wages. If you have to nick something extra, you should not be there in the first place. Rule number 2, and it's very important too, is always to be kind to the horses. I spent a lot of time trying to learn the job in America with the late Charlie Whittingham, one of the greatest trainers of all time. In our many conversations, it would always crop up, Charlie saying, you have to be kind to the horses, and they will be kind to you. How true that statement is. Let me give you an example. I bought a horse called Silvertown 8 or 9 years ago at Newmarket sales. Cost about 12,000. And I can tell you didn't have to look for your troubles when you had him. Hard to ride, wouldn't go anywhere except it was his choice, and would eat you. I remember I tried to work on one day with Frankie on board. He knocked most of the markers down on the summer gallops at Newmarket. Did you ever see Frankie mad? I can tell you his language when he got the horse pulled up could have been heard in Cambridge, although he was shouting in Italian. He probably couldn't find the English words to properly express himself. But anyhow, I got the message. I got an idea of what he thought of me and the horse. We persevered with him, plenty of TLC. Eventually, he came good. I had a couple of right touches with him, and I sold him to Lenny Lungo. He raced until he was 11 and won numerous flat races and hurdle races. So much for a little kindness. It usually works on human beings too. Thought for the week. Politicians some time ago were described by an American intellectual as being principally involved in looking after themselves. I personally get it hard to believe them. However, a few weeks ago, Gordon Brown announced the end of the Super Casino in Manchester. It was the first good move by a politician I can remember in years. You see, you have to realise those fruit machines are as addictive as crack cocaine. Could anyone explain to me how they were allowed in the betting shops? It looks like the brown envelope to me, or something similar.